On the morning of August 7th, 2026, on a stretch of Lozelle Street in Sturgis, South Dakota, Harley-Davidson pulled the cover off a motorcycle called the Deadwood. Blacked out. Solo seat. Low, stripped, and mean. The kind of bike a returning soldier might have built in a rented garage in 1946 with a hacksaw and a grudge. The price on the card next to it read $17,999. And here is the part nobody at the unveiling said out loud. For the better part of 20 years, Harley-Davidson systematically killed off its affordable motorcycles, discontinued them, starved them, priced them out of existence. The company bet everything on $45,000 touring machines and the men who could still afford them. Now, at the '86 Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, with its profits in freefall and a brand new chief executive holding the wrench, Harley is selling the cheap, honest motorcycle back to you as a premium product. This is the story of how Milwaukee spent 2 decades walking away from its own riders, why it took an 80% collapse in profit to turn the company around, and why the Deadwood might be the most important motorcycle Harley has built in a generation. And it might also be the most cynical. Both things can be true. Stay with me. To understand what happened on that street in Sturgis, you have to go back to 1945. The war ends. Hundreds of thousands of young American men come home. They had learned to ride military Harleys and Indians overseas, and when they got back, they bought Army surplus bikes for next to nothing. Then they did something the factories never intended. They started cutting. Fenders shortened or thrown away, crash bars gone, windshields gone, saddlebags gone. Anything that added weight and didn't add speed hit the garage floor. They called them bobbers because you bobbed the fenders the way you'd bob a horse's tail. These were not motorcycles built to impress anyone. They were built to be light, fast, and personal. The bobber was working-class rebellion in steel, and it was born about 40 minutes down the road from Sturgis, in the same Black Hills where the rally itself had started in the late 1930s as a handful of racers on a dirt half-mile. That history matters because the Deadwood is named after the old mining town near Sturgis, and Harley's own press materials say the bike was inspired by those post-war garage customizers. The company is not hiding the reference. It is leaning on it with its full corporate weight. Milwaukee 8117 engine, softail frame, blacked out finishes, a solo seat, which is maybe the most honest component on the whole machine, because a solo seat is a promise that this bike is about the rider and nobody else. But here is where the story turns, because the company selling you that promise in 2026 is the same company that spent the previous 2 decades breaking it. Go down the list. The Sportster 883, for generations the cheapest way into the bar and shield, the bike your dealer put you on when you walked in with a modest paycheck and a big dream. Gone from the American lineup. The Dyna line, the working rider's Harley, absorbed and discontinued. The entry-level street models, killed. Year after year, the bikes that a school teacher, a mechanic, a young veteran could actually finance quietly disappeared from the showroom floor. And what replaced them? Chrome flagships, anniversary editions, CVO touring machines with price tags north of $40,000. The strategy had a logic to it, and Wall Street loved that logic. Sell fewer bikes to wealthier customers at fatter margins. Chase the premium buyer. Let the entry-level market go to the Japanese, to Royal Enfield, to anyone willing to take it. For a while, the spreadsheet math worked, but motorcycles are not a spreadsheet business. They're a generational business. Every affordable bike Harley refused to build was a first Harley that never got bought. Every first Harley that never got bought was a lifelong customer who never existed. The company was eating its own seed corn and calling it a harvest. And the bill came due. In 2025, Harley's global retail sales fell by roughly 12%. Shipments dropped even harder, down around 16%. The motorcycle division actually posted an operating loss for the year, tens of millions of dollars in the red, at a company that once defined American manufacturing swagger. Then came the first quarter of 2026, and the number that made everyone in Milwaukee sit up straight. Net income down 81%. Not 8. 81. That is not a bad quarter. That is a company hitting the guardrail. Enter the new man. Artie Starrs, Harley-Davidson's president and chief executive, a leader who came up not through the motorcycle industry, but through the restaurant business, running one of the biggest pizza operations on the planet. The purists howled at that resume. But say this for a pizza executive. He understands one thing the previous strategy forgot. Volume matters. Accessibility matters. You do not build an empire by pricing out the people who love you most. Starrs announced his plan and gave it a name that tells you everything. Back to the bricks, back to basics, back to the street, back to the riders. The plan calls for a healthier dealer network, real cost cuts, roughly $150 million in fixed costs coming out by 2027, and a target of more than $350 million in core motorcycle profit. But the heart of it is the product. An entry-level Harley priced around $10,000, already announced. A smaller machine priced near $6,000 coming later this year. The Superglide name, resurrected this spring. The Sportster, the bike Harley itself killed, coming back for 2027. One by one, the company is digging up the graves it spent 20 years filling, and the early returns are real. In the second quarter of 2026, North American retail sales rose about 3%, nearly 30,000 motorcycles finding homes. The motorcycle division's revenue climbed roughly 6% to over $1 billion, snapping a long streak of declines. Dealer inventory, the glut of unsold bikes that had been crushing dealer profits, came down 17% year over year. The company raised its full-year guidance. Verified numbers, straight from the earnings reports. The turnaround is not finished. Total company profit is still falling. Tariffs are still squeezing margins. But for the first time in years, the needle is moving toward the rider instead of away from him. Which brings us back to Sturgis, and to the Deadwood, and to the question that sits at the center of this whole story like a stone in your boot. Is this bike a tribute, or is it a transaction? Because here is the uncomfortable arithmetic. The original bobbers existed for one reason. They were cheap, a surplus bike, and a free weekend. The whole point was that nobody sold you rebellion. You made it yourself, with your own hands, against the wishes of the factory. And now the factory is selling a factory-built bobber, engineered by committee, focus grouped, warranty included, for nearly $18,000. There is a word for taking the thing people created to escape you and selling it back to them at a premium, and that word is not tribute. Some of the sharpest voices in the riding community have spent the last 2 years saying that Sturgis itself has gone soft, gone corporate, gone from outlaw gathering to branded festival. The Deadwood, viewed coldly, is Exhibit A, your grandfather's defiance now available in 3 colorways. And yet. Walk down Main Street Sturgis this week and look at who is actually riding. The average age keeps climbing. And all across this community, older riders are making the same quiet decision. They are stepping down from the 900-pound touring rigs. Bad knees, fused backs, and honest self-assessment are doing what no marketing campaign ever could. They want lighter bikes, simpler bikes, bikes you can pick up off the kickstand without a prayer. Meanwhile, the rest of the planet never stopped riding small, affordable motorcycles. In most of the world, a $2,000 machine is not a compromise. It is transportation, freedom, and common sense in one package. America was the outlier, and Harley was the company that made it that way. So when Harley builds a stripped, lower-priced, back-to-basics cruiser, it is not just cashing in on nostalgia, it is finally building the motorcycle that its own riders and the entire global market have been asking for all along. The Deadwood at $18,000, the $10,000 entry bike, the $6,000 machine on the way. That is not a company mocking its history. That is a company crawling back toward it. Both things are true. The Deadwood is a marketing department selling you your own rebellion, and it is the correction this company owed its riders for 20 years. It is cynical, and it is right. That is the thing about Harley-Davidson that outsiders never understand. This company has been mismanaged, misdirected, and nearly bankrupted more than once in its 120 years. The AMF era, the near death of the early 80s, the premium-only detour we just lived through. Harley can be betrayed by its own boardroom. It has been, repeatedly, but it has never once been beaten because the thing that actually powers this brand was never the balance sheet. It was the riders who kept showing up, kept wrenching, kept riding, whether Milwaukee deserved them that year or not. The men who built the first bobbers in 1946 did not ask permission. They took what the factory gave them and made it theirs. Maybe the truest way to honor them is not to buy the Deadwood at all. Or maybe it is to buy one and immediately start unbolting things, the way God and the greatest generation intended. 80 years of history, and it comes down to this. A black motorcycle on a street in South Dakota. A company on its knees, standing back up. A price tag that is either an insult or an olive branch, depending on the angle of the light. $17,999. 20 years of walking away. 1 week in the Black Hills to find the road home. The factory finally built the bike the garage invented. So here's what I want to know from the people who were actually there for the whole ride. If you have been riding for 30, 40, 50 years, and you have watched this company break your heart and win it back more times than you can count, tell me. Is the Deadwood the moment Harley-Davidson finally remembered who it belongs to, or just the moment it figured out what that memory was worth? I personally think the answer is both, and I will be down in the comments because I want to hear yours.